Hello, my name's Anton Floyd. I'd like to thank Paul Astle, Miriam O'Donovan and Bev Cotton for inviting me to contribute to the Speakeasy sessions. These take place in Skibbereen once a month at the Tan Yard, but because of the strange times that we are all living through, the readings have migrated online. I hope that you are well and safe and that your families and friends are well and safe and remain so. I'm going to read a number of poems for you from my collection, Falling into Place, that was published in 2018 by Revival Press. I hope you enjoy the poems. The first poem I'm going to read is called Shehi, and it's dedicated to Rosemary Canavan and Michael Cunningham. Shehi Mountain may not inspire the awe of the beetling cliffs of Moher. Here's not the drama of Bearer's serrated ranges that crowd above Glengariff Bay, but Shehi's brow of naked rock and heather, rounded by all weathers, is my ancient of days. The roaming clouds, as if by his command, split this afternoon's westering light into a pair of golden compasses. They describe a shielding circle round our sky, our townlands, and our home places. There's another poem now about Shehi Moor, the mountain. It's called Daybreak Stirs on Shehi Moor, and it's for Daryl, one of my sons. Daybreak stirs on Shehi Moor. The heathers whisper the purple weather across the mountain bog. The mist's soft syllables caress the cotton grasses. Watery hollows are slow, open vowels, echoing a changing sky, and rills in pencil lines cross-hatch the hillside falls. When hen harriers rise, the sky dance of their wings is the sacred imprint of these skies. We live in Inchigila, and Shehi Moor is a dominating feature of our landscape. Also here we have a wonderful ribbon lake that runs from Balangiri to Inchigila. It's about 5 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide. And the next poem I'm going to read for you is called At Local Lua. At Local Lua. You dip gently your hand into the lake to test the color of the lapping water. It is the purest blue, an intense ultramarine, as if time had processed the world's store of lapis, had lavished this gift, this mesmerizing pigment, remaking this place as all-encompassing as the frescoes adorning the Scroveny Chapel walls. Whatever it is, the angle of the sun, the blue vault of sky, the surface tension rippling outwards its mercurial mirrors, I am standing behind and above you, holding your shoulders to keep you from slipping. Then the miracle happens. Your head radiates such pulses of light. For all the world and more than ever, you are the angel I see through Giotto's eyes. We lived for many years in Cyprus, in the Eastern Mediterranean, and this next poem is called This the Boy. It was inspired by the poetry of Odysseus Elitis, and it is dedicated to my son Aegon. This the boy, bare-skinned, deeply tanned, tousled hair bleached, his radiating curls like the rays of the sun in a child's every day is summertime drawing. These the days when hayrick giants cross barefoot fields, harvesting childhood sunshine. This the country, the hillside vineyards slur the summer haze, where the still air clings to citric suns ripening, and cicada trees keen the overheat in ever mesmerizing echo drones. This the land, dry as olive bark, parched as powdered chalk. A scorpion is a medallion of stone, and under Byzantine domes, shouldering the press of noon, the golden icons of the risen Lord glow on whitewashed walls fringed by monkish pines. This the island, the moving seas, sails testing the angle of the wind, desires pitching like proud reefs caught in the reels of the sun. These, the memories, like sea creatures, sifting silences, like pliant sponges wedded to the rocks beyond the reach of breathless divers. This next poem is called Dreaming of Wallace Stevens, my response to his poem The Disillusionment of 10 O'Clock. Dreaming of Wallace Stevens, dedicated to Daniel Lusk and Angela Patton. Last night I was asleep in my crisp white sheets, and now awake in my boots, I remember that I dreamed last night of baboons and periwinkles. And I remember the last part of the dream. It was of an insurance man in a train on his way home from the office, drunk with fatigue and asleep in his shoes. He was talking in his sleep. I think he was dreaming of sailors catching tigers in red weather. Today, I have decided to buy you a present, a beaded ceinture and socks of lace, and you may care to choose a pattern nightgown in any colour combination, rings of green and purple, or yellow and green rings, maybe hoops of blue and yellow. I shall fix the clock too. It shall always be 1 minute before 10 o'clock. This next poem is called The Angel of History. It was inspired by the writings of Walter Benjamin, and he in turn was inspired by a painting of that name by Paul Klee. Angel of History. See his angel of history with wings outspread, turn to face the past and stare open-mouthed at the single catastrophe. His world lies wrecked, before him all is ruin. Though he looks fixedly, he sees memories fading, blown from view. That storm in paradise that raged in the past, he sees it raging still. The angel cannot stop it, wants to but cannot stay, wants to redeem our state from the mere mind and the leaden heart, wants to make whole what is dashed and lost. But his wings are caught in the maelstrom. It propels him backwards, irresistibly out of time, leaving us to progress. Under the piling ash that grows skywards, minute by minute, we sift from the debris vestiges of hope. This next poem is called In Honour of Mawar Sabet. Mawar Sabet was a prisoner of conscience held in the notorious Evin prison in Tehran, Iran. By 2010, she had already served 2.5 years of her imprisonment, when, on fabricated charges, she was convicted and sentenced to a further 20 years. While she was in prison, she wrote poetry, and her book Prison Poems, with translations by Bahia Nakhjavani, was published by George Ronald in Oxford in 2013. PEN International campaigned consistently for her release, and she was in fact released from prison in September 2017. Michael Longley was awarded the PEN Pinter International Prize for Poetry in 2017, and he announced Mawar Sabet as the PEN Pinter International Poet of Courage for 2017. I read Prison Poems and was greatly inspired by Mawar Sabet's generosity of spirit and example, and so I wrote this poem in honour of Mawar Sabet, and I sent it to Bahia, who was an old friend. In honour of Mawar Sabet. In memoriam Violette, and for Ali and Bahia, who shared her light. In her prison cell, she writes, recounting days, cruel years within those walls. There time itself plays tricks, and all she ever knew is now a distant haze. There were hopes of few, and life made sere and rough, her lucid words speak true. Against this hell, enough to recall a friend's kind hands, her shining eyes the proof. Proof against this living hell, her eyes shine on, and in kind hands she finds the light, and in that light she presses on, she presses on. This next poem is called Falling into Place, Hineni, in memoriam Leonard Cohen. Weeks ago the field flickered with the accented syllables of clear red poppies. Now only seed pods remain, held like funeral urns on brittle stalks that stutter in the chilling rains. Falling into place wherever there's open ground, tiny seeds, like silent letters, knit themselves into the soil. There each will sleep in winter dark, dousing a dream of itself, one that lasts a season. And to honour the paradigm, time's trigger hand will tilt the world in the seed's favour, will stretch a munificent finger, a teeming touch to stir cell walls to life. So will they, stem and root, infix, begin to mine the ground, to inflect with supple strength new versions of themselves. Then will nature's green charge proclaim its readiness for poppies to fling again crimson flags to the fluent winds. I'd like to finish up with a poem called The Easter Tree that I've just written during this pandemic. Before I read it, I'd like to thank once again Paul, Miriam and Bev for this opportunity to share some poems with you. This poem is called The Easter Tree 2020, and it has an epigraph by Balzac. It says, "Solitude is fine, but you need someone to tell that solitude is fine." April. The forsythia someone planted sprays saffron, joys a fleeting life. It, like birds in flight, links continents, mocks frontiers. Both shine in song upon an anxious world. It is not just the crying child at night that intuits that it is alone. The human heart bears the weight of the future. The moon and the stars, the sun, and closer to home the mountains are indifferent to our joys, our griefs. Who then will care? Beauty is a chance of nature, a pulse in history, a gift. It is diminished when glimpsed alone.